No,
He's here. Nancy is here.
yes.
And she just is not going to be seen. You're going to just hear her, but not see her.
Oh my God. Any particular reason? It's
Just
beautiful as ever.
camera issue. There's a camera issue.
Oh, I see. She wants to deprive it of her beauty.
Yeah.
For our last, right?
That's
Here we go. So then it says continue. Okay, I've just pressed continue. This meeting is being recorded.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, so here we are. It's recorded, no?
Yes.
Yeah, we're recording. Fantastic. So anyway, here we are. We are approximating the completion of the last 3 dimensions, and it's very, very exciting to get to this point. At least for me, because I feel like now when we completed the last 3 dimensions, you will have the whole scenario of the new consciousness. And then as it relates to everything, any questions that will arise from us, it will always come from the whole perspective. And we can always, if anything needs to be called into it or have reference to it, we can always bring it inside of the whole system. So that is wonderful, because until now I felt like we're talking about, even though we're talking about the whole, we are still developing or beginning to discover the pieces that correspond to the whole. So it's different now then, because all the pieces of the puzzle have come together, and that is a miracle. We are big, big celebration for all of us. So anyway, I cannot ask you if there's any questions, because I don't know, we're going to have a questions next week, but just in case, I'll ask the question right now. Is anything specific that the last week or the last time together came into your mind that will further along the completion today of the last 3 dimensions? Is anything for you, Cynthia Divine, that they are the great question maker of the whole world? I love you, though. Your questions are fantastic. All right, that's good. Okay, so now then we're going to go into the, so then I will continue with it. You know that we did a lot of work this week as well, as always, to have it all completed. And there are four not graphics, we have the graphics, but we don't have the written material that correspond to the last part of the Zoom, because the computer just didn't, it wasn't up to until tomorrow. So we are going to post that information for you during the week, so you can have it for next Thursday or next Wednesday. And we're just going to go and see what's happening, okay? So I'm going to, as much as possible, go to the blog, but also return to you in case that we need to clarify anything. Because when I see all together in the larger screen, it's easy for me to find out if there's any questions in you, because I can read your mind. And then I can say, okay, you are not asking questions, but there's something there. So anyway, I'm going to take you to it. So now I'm just going to share a screen, right, Ellen? I'm doing good. Yeah. Yes. And then share again. And here we are now. Okay, so I'm going to take you to, let me see, where will I take you? Okay, I'm going to take you to more or less when we think that we were last time. You know, so we were last time the 4 mothers. I'm writing the 4 mothers to put it as an introduction in this particular blog, but it's going to be next week, next time that we are together. And well, we added, I don't know if you checked it, if you noticed, Carolina and I added we added information in here about the five Platonic souls and the sphere of life and Metatron's cube. And there's information here that I'm not going to read for you, but I don't know, maybe let me see what is it here. I wanted to say that the 5 Platonic solids exist within the Metatron's cube, but also the foundation of Metatron's cube is the flower of life. So remember that the flower of life is always the mother of all forms, is the natural existence of physicality, from which 3 dimensions and the world that we have come into being have been created, yeah, or we created, let's put it that way. So then remember all the time that the mother of all forms is wonderful because it represents all form. It's not just an aspect of form, it's all of it. It's the form of God. Yeah. So these 6 circles, and here that you see here are actually the 6 circles inside of the flower of life. We didn't put it on because it's like endless graphics that, and the whole thing becomes so long that it's impossible. I don't know, it's just too much. But anyway, also I wanted to notice that we put in the center of the 6 graphic, the 5 Platonic souls and Metatron's cube and 3 dimensions. Because even though we know that everybody knows that all the Platonic solids are in their edges, touching the sphere or touching the circle. They say the circle, they don't say sphere, touches the circle. We know that Metatron's cube and all the Platonic solids, what is being called the circle, since the Platonic solids wanted to show us a 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional symbol to assist us to understand 3 dimensions, it has to be centralized in the sphere of life. And the sphere of life, the sphere of 3 dimensions, has been like a sort of a mystery for all of us forever. What is 3 dimensions? You know, we know that we know that we are 3-dimensional. We know that everything is 3-dimensional, but we never really actually click it that the 3-dimensionality means the real world in which we live in, the universe, but also the natural existence of our human self. So when we go through this voyage now to be able to understand, feel, and experience 3 dimensions, what we're really doing is understanding, feeling, and experience everything that surrounds us, but also essentially ourselves, because we are the ones that can make sense of anything that surrounds us. Without us, nothing can make sense, yeah? Remember that the human, we were created in the image and the likeness in order to be able to recover the knowledge that corresponded to us, that we are the very light from which it has been said that we were the image and the likeness. So we created the circle. The consciousness created the circle simultaneous with us. And the consciousness and us are now in the new world, understanding, feeling, and experience the realms of 3 dimensions, which I say to you, that is all there is. The 3 dimensions is all there is, and 10 dimensions is a whole understanding of all there is. Yeah. So then I'm going to take you. That's the information that I would like you to read a little bit, and then Metatron's cube, of course, which we love so much. Yeah, it's a wonderful image. Remember, the Metatron's cube shall contain within itself the square, or double square, yeah, forever. But also, I want you to understand that the square is really a sphere again. And if you go on to squares and forever and ever and ever, what you're really talking is about a sphere that is constantly reproducing itself, because everything is spherical, from the most minute aspect of a speck of ash to the universe. Everything is spherical. Yeah. Remember that science shows us that when you enter the smallest particle of form, which is quantum mechanics, the study of the smallest particles, you enter the whole world that self-contained an extraordinary system. He didn't use the word microcosm in relation to the macrocosms, but in some way, science is implying that. We added this graphic here because we wanted to make sure that we understood that within Metatron's cube exists 2 sets of stars of David. Yeah. So then they are self-contained. The 2 stars of David are self-contained with the Metatron's cube. And the Star of David is a fantastic image because it represents actually the balance between the balance that corresponds to a sphere. If you were to complete the circle here, you will have 1 sphere. And if we complete the circle, as I put it here in the graphic, you have another sphere. And in this sphere of the Star of David is fantastic, because we get to understand that the Star of David in its form is actually a natural symbol of what we call gravitational expansion. Let me see if I have it here. If we have it here, so I can take you to it. Let me see. I think I will take you here in this, after these images. It is very important to comprehend this understanding right here. The Star of David. Right there, we're going back to the Star of David. The Star of David is a two-dimensional image of a three-dimensional symbol that implies the formation of a sphere. I don't know if many people will be able to say what I'm telling you as words, but what it really means is that the Star of David implies the balance, or has been said about it for sure, imply the balance of heaven and earth. Imply that what is above is what is below. And the balance of what is above and what is below is actually the width that manifests the center between the six-pointed star. Yeah, the six-pointed star is fantastic because it represents for us three things. And I want you to spend time, if it is possible, when you have time, contemplating what I'm saying. What we're saying is that the Star of David, which is the energetic field that manifests the balance of the sphere, or is the sphere, represents three symbols for us. It represents the symbol that we call the physical phenomena of three dimensions, which is gravity, expansion, and the moment of life. So this is gravity, bringing us to the center. This is expansion, taking us to this line here. Then we lost it a little bit, and then the number of it, we have to put it back, yeah? And then the moment of life becomes the center itself. So it represents the three aspects of the physical phenomenon in which all humans live. We don't innocently sometimes understand that the field of gravity, life force, and the moment itself are the given scenario of life force that allow us humans to exist in the planet Earth. That's all there is. We are all partaking in this field. Understanding this field of gravity, expansion, and the movement of life, which is called three dimensions, because it engages three different spheres. It engages the sphere of gravity, as we said many times. It engages the sphere of expansion, and it engages the center, which is the balance of the two, into a third element. The ground is the conversion and the expansion in the actual moment that is the movement of life. Yeah, so it is very important this, because when you practice unity in motion and you practice movement, all that you're doing constantly is to equalize the energy between above and below all the systems of your body to really experience the centralization of the sphere of life, especially because the sphere of life is the portal or connection from which we experience the fountain. Then the sphere is the doors of the fountain, which is the gift that has been given by the new consciousness, then in which we are all inside of this fountain that always it was existing potentiality, I guess, for us, but it never became fully available until the new consciousness came into being, because the fountain of life became not just only the union of our human consciousness, became the union of our human consciousness to the solar system, to the 7 super universes, to the universe itself. So we are inside of one system. We are no longer inside of a conceptual understanding of one system that exists in relation to other systems. We are simultaneous, and that's what the sphere of life is, the simultaneity of life itself. So the first one that we say in gravity, expansion, and the moment of life is the field. We call it a physical phenomenon because you can't go farther than that comprehension. It is the very existence of our humanity. Yeah, without this physical phenomena, we wouldn't be able to live. It's what it is, period. Yeah. So 3 dimension is the isness of our human existence. You cannot go too much into it because you can try to figure it out more things, but you can. It's just a given. Yeah. And then the second part of the Star of David is the unity of heaven and earth, centralized within the natural moments of our human life. So it takes us to another principle. This one is the given, the physical phenomena. And the second is the heaven and earth, meaning that which is externally expanded from us, that which is what we call earth, which is the self-containment of our human moment-to-moment existence. And the moment of life, again, is the union that it makes this whole system to really be meaningful. Yeah. Without the moment of life, all that we have is a conceptual idea, because everything in the new consciousness centralizes itself within the natural moment of life. That is the miracle that transformed the linear consciousness, the linear or sequential consciousness that we were coming from, into the presence of a holistic existence in which we are simultaneous and synchronized with everything. So in the synchronization of everything, the moment of life, which always has been relative in our consciousness, all of a sudden becomes absolute, because it is the self-containment of the entire universe as information, as connection of form, and as for us, because it reconnects us with the whole movement that is eternal in its nature. We are inside of eternity because we are interconnected now with the natural moment that corresponds to the movement of life. So life is no longer an idea or a possibility or a wondering or a physicalization in our mind. Life became the treasure of all times. Yeah. Remember that in the Egyptian ancestry, and the pharaohs, especially the one that are called Thoth, carry within its hand the anchor. Remember, a circle within itself with the anchor, the eternal life. Remember that the pharaohs embalmed themselves to return, waiting for the time to come and back, in which life will be eternal. Well, guess what? This is the moment in which time is eternal. And then I will tell you more about it when we get to Hermes, because Hermes is actually in its impersonifications was actually associated with the particular pharaoh Thoth that was the one that was carrying in his hand the anchor, the sphere within the cross. And then the third one of this particular explanation is the existence of 3 dimensions celebrated at the frame of movement of life, as the frame of movement of life. This is completely different for us and new. We don't think, well, we didn't have any tools to be able to think about that before without the new consciousness, that 3 dimensions is actually the natural moments of our physical life. That we are the embodiment of 3 dimensions, and that is what life is for us, because 3 dimensions is the natural moment in which all what we call nature, it becomes actualized as a manifestation. It's actualized as creation because it has the growth that corresponds to life, and then it exists because it is centralized within the moment of life. So there are 3 things that happen in the physical phenomenon that we call 3 dimensions. We are actualized as the creation, and as manifestation. Yeah. Let me go back a little bit one more time here. Elena, see, if I wanted to go back, I stop share, right?
Yes.
Yeah, stop share. I want to go back to each of you a little bit, just to clarify that a little bit. You remember that in the information that as we continue with it, there is a moment that it says that the moment, what we call the moment, which is the instant of 3 dimensions, 3 spheres actualized as one, that the moment it implies manifestation, which is gravity, Yeah, the center of gravity is actually what allows moment to moment to manifest everything. Our body, for example, is manifested every instant of time inside of its whole context. So it means that, remember that even though we cut our nails, we are not aware that every single instant the nails are growing, that our hair is growing, that our skin is growing. So the way that our consciousness was existing a little bit in the realms of relativity is that the moment was more like an affirmation of what we were doing, instead of the recognition that we were creating ourselves by the moment itself. So if we understand that we are creating ourselves within the moment, a lot of things are going to change in the planet very quickly, because we will understand that we have the possibility or the reality of creating a completely new world constantly, that is not relative to all the complexities of the linear sequential consciousness, and that is more in tune with the actual existence of what we call our human bodies. Yeah, because once we begin to understand that we are manifesting ourselves naturally by life itself every single moment, everything changes, because everything becomes precious. The food that you eat, the way you see yourself, the way that you feel yourself, your health will change, because you will be constantly in the moment of regeneration, more than the moment of attending the sickness or the whatever it is in the system. So little by little, we will enter the place that eternity and health means nothing other than being connected three-dimensionally with ourselves as humanity, and the planet as the natural existence of the planet, and with the universe as the entire natural existence and the entire intelligence that we call God, or that we call life, whatever we wanted to call it, either life or God. It doesn't matter. It's just that thing. Yeah. So I wanted to convey to you that sometimes it needs to spend a little bit of time going into that understanding that gravity is this beautiful force that allow us constantly and to embrace us constantly and allow us to live in the planet Earth and connect us to the center of the planet Earth, as I'm going to show you in a little while. So in reality, gravity, expansion, and the movement of life as 3 dimensions is really love. It's the feel of love. Gravity no longer is crunching us and getting us all like in pain and complete. Gravity is actually the force that connects us to life, and therefore it engages with the very light and love that is the universe unfolding into infinity. Yeah, it's a lot what I'm saying, because we don't use that language as an expression in terms, but it's important to understand that the field of gravity inside of the union between gravity expansion and the center movement of life is the most blessed gift that has been given to each of us in order to be extraordinarily comfortable with the physical body, in order to be completely healthy, because we are partaking of the creativity and the renewal of life, and in order to be present with the universal mind and creation that is extraordinary in its scope and its beauty, because it's not confined innocently to our particular human traditional linear process that innocently was confining us inside of the chicken coop. Yes, the chicken coop being the place that we're always fighting with each other, we're doing this, blah, 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 blah. Everything is sort of trying innocently and helpfully to try and find solutions to everything, but inside of a system that, as it gets innocently inside of that system, keep recreating itself. So that's the reason that the new consciousness came into existence 30 years ago, to liberate us from the Groundhog Day of constantly recreating through endless yugas, the search for the human spirit to find home. It's a lot, but that's what it is, yeah? So anyway, so are we a little bit clear with this about gravity expansion and the center movement of life? Yeah? If you have, when you go into it and say, well, but I don't know, blah, blah, blah. If you have questions in your mind, ask your consciousness now that they have a full spectrum, to give you the information that you need, so your mind can become actualized in the understanding of that principle. So then you don't have to think about it anymore. And then the field of gravity is wonderful because it will change as your understanding of gravity, because gravity, without this comprehension of the unity of 3 dimensions, gravity is complex because it creates a lot of problems innocently, especially in our human bodies, because then we begin to become compressional and we think that it's just the natural unfolding of our human becoming old and so forth. No, the principle doesn't have that. The principle is 1000% neutral. It doesn't have any projection of age or anything. It's just the principle. Yeah. So anyway, so then now I'm going to go back again. Any questions about this, Aline? Can I continue then? It's good?
Yes.
All right.
Good.
So Elena.
I would also say that if you're thinking of questions, to write them. And I mean, if it's something that Christy can answer right away, that's fantastic. But to write them, and then we'll have them for next week, which would be fantastic.
Yes, because now we'll be getting to the whole consciousness. You're going to have a lot of questions. Your mind, because now what happens is you're in the stages that you're allowed to really find in your mind the places in the mind, like ventricles, that it's not yet clear of sure of what it knows, it doesn't know, what it means, or what doesn't mean. And those things are going to show up in your consciousness. And every time they show up in your consciousness, when you acknowledge them, you have the possibility then to take that gap and, like a fabric, like an embroidery, put it inside of the system. And every time that you take a little gap out of the system and you embroider into the wholeness, your mind rejoices because you get to be more present in the present moment. You get to be much better. You get to be synchronized with reality. Everything that you need is in front of you. Life is fantastic. Love is all there is. Forever, that's it. The ultimate, all the things that forever was said, the things that we were searching for are now waiting for us now inside of this new system that we manifested, but also it was a universal event that it was predicted to come into being in order for us to be able to be inside of the whole system for the first time, and to also assess all the projection that the spiritual ancestry projected in order to be now the life itself. So we are no longer inside of a search, we are inside of the discovery, of the magic, of the actual experience, no longer in the search, but in the actual connection to the reality that the search was projecting. Yeah, the search was projecting. It couldn't tell you what it was, because it was a projection into time that it could only be fully understood in the moment that we enter the new consciousness, because the new consciousness then comprehended that particular projection and fulfill it as a real experience. Yeah, so we are all enlightened in that sense now, but without the idea that we have to be behaving in any particular form, because the enlightenment originally was nothing other than the natural existence of human. The human being was created as the natural enlightenment of his own consciousness, heart, and existence, because it was the light of the world that it was going to know, understand, and experience the meaning of that as recognizing itself to be the light itself. Not as a religious idea, but if you want to take it there, it's okay. Not as a philosophical perfection, but if you want to take that, okay, too. But as an actual reality of living in the moment, that particular existence. So we are inside of magic instead of being inside of the recollection of the search of time. Because in the human existence in the past, when we were trying to get to home, we were always in the recollection. We were always longing. We were always in between worlds. We didn't know if the physical world was real or not real. They told us there was samsara. The religious world, they told us that it will be a world to go, we will go when you die. The physical world was not really actually a fun place to be, even though the physical world, through the story of our humanity, gave us an extraordinary gift of love and experience and nature and everything, but now it's even more, yeah? So anyway, I'm going now to share the screen, yeah?
Yeah.
Share the screen and then share again, and I will be in the great. So here we are in the Star of David. The Star of David became a beautiful thing for me and for Carolina too, I think, because when we needed to explain why, we needed to make sure that you understand. Let me see, where are we here? We needed to make sure to understand that that we were telling you that the metrics of balance, which you have seen it right here, the metrics of balance shall contain within itself the two stars of David that exist in Metatron's cube. And the stars of David is actually the natural spatial integrity that exists within our human body, and it's that which allows us to really be centralized in three-dimensional space. Yeah. So I want you to spend time at home when you can, just be done with this understanding. So when we say that the two stars of David are through three-dimensional stars, they are not flat, they are three-dimensional. It is the circularity. These are horizontal planes, right? Within the tree of life and the study of unity and motion. This is the horizontal plane, the centralization of the head. The horizontal plane centralizing the arms at the heart. In the horizontal plane, centralizing the right and left of the hip. These are the hip joints here, and the pelvic floor centralizing as the hip. So these are the centralization of the physical form as the center of three dimensions. But then the two stars of David represents the volume and the actual all directional integrity that exists in our natural balance. And what we're talking about is a natural balance. So when we're talking about natural balance, we're talking about the primal reflex of life. Primal reflex of life. So if the tree of life is the primal reflex that comes into existence in the moment that we are alive. In the moment that our mother, that we manifested inside of the womb. And it's not something, even though in the movement, when we practice, as we become more and more connected to, we're thinking about as a process, because we are reuniting the many senses within ourselves. But in reality, we are repairing, if you may, for lack of a better word, or actualizing the primal reflex that we call our physical sensation of life. The primal reflex of life is our individual, human moment of primal reflex that allow us to feel life. Being alive, that's what it means, yeah? So anyway, I'm going to continue with it. I don't know if the questions will arrive through them. And remember that if you spend time with it, you will be able to see why balance and beauty connect you to the crown. So the crown being the highest expression of light, and I can use highest because it is the natural expression of light. And then consciousness of unity come from self. And then the second, balance and beauty, come from the foundation, which is the essence of the physical form, paradise. And then whole nature and infinite regeneration, a realistic expression of the moment of life itself. So when we're talking about whole nature and infinite regeneration, which is the two dimensions within the third dimension of the 10 dimensions, well, we're really talking about the moment itself. Everything that we're talking about in the 10 dimensions is the natural expression of the moment itself. And it's important to understand why, because remember that in the linear sequential process, the moment really, it was almost like a vehicle to go from the past into the future, but it never existed other than in certain moments in our human life. The moment became real in the human life when we fell in love, when a mother gave birth, which is a fantastic experience, when we get drunk and all of a sudden jump into the water and I said, oh my God, this is, I'm free, I'm free, I'm free. Those are the things that we did as humans to really apply the actual existence of the moment. But we couldn't keep it. The next morning we get up and we have a headache. The next moment, love sometimes disappears because now you have to clean the house and feed the children and blah, blah, blah. So everything, we're never really actually actualized as being the life itself. So the wonderful thing about the new consciousness, that everything exists in the now. So what that means is that the now became everything. So everything that you do is the natural creation of everything, is the natural manifestation of everything, is the natural spiritual experience, if you wanted to put it that way, or the natural ecstasy that corresponds to that existence. So it allows us to be present, yet to be present. That's what present means, is that we are present with the moment of life. Not that we all of a sudden we are like in the army, okay, I'm going to be present, because you can't do that. You're present with the natural moment of life, which is your presence with yourself, your presence with life, you're present with manifestation, because you are manifesting yourself every single moment by every single word that come out of your mouth. Remember that in the past he said, man does not create himself alone, but for every word that came out of the mouth of God, something like that, right? There was the idea. So in reality is that we are manifesting ourselves continuously, and sometimes we are not conscious. We're just so busy, we're going from one. So we say things, we do things that we don't know they are innocently showing up in our life lately, because we have unleashed a certain reality by what we did. But it wasn't happening upon us. It was just it was natural manifestation of what we created in the moment itself. Yeah. So this is important to understand. It's not that it's a judgment. Now you have to be careful what you said. No, it's that in reality, the reality that we are being blessed, what we said is who we are. And what we said and who we are correspond to the reality of unity and its perfection, and it's beautiful. It's not something that I have to create or do. It comes with the territory. Yeah. The new consciousness is not subject to a specific becoming of your consciousness. It is a gift given to you in order for you to be free from the idea that you have to add points in order to become that. Yeah, because remember in the past, you have to become everything. Everything was what you're making. You have to be careful. You have to be good. You have to do this. Now you don't have to do anything other than show up. Here I am. Everything is perfect. It's all included. You are the perfection. You are the consciousness. You are the love. You are the creation. You are the manifestation. You are the beauty. You are the present moment. Everything is perfect because you are inside of the realms of unity, which are beautiful. Yeah. Okay. Are we doing okay? So then, and here, now when you see this Star of David, even though it's a two-dimensional, remember there's a three-dimensional experience, and that this is wonderful to have that information for you. Because, and remember that this information that we'll give to you is a linear, sequential expression to assist us to understand, to assist us to really not to understand, because a linear sequential expression to assist us to see that they all exist in the present moment as a whole system. So the beauty of the new consciousness was that we went from a linear sequential process of consciousness called duality into a moment of union, in which the consciousness manifested itself anew inside of a new system called fulfillment, the new consciousness of life, the eternal moment. It has many names, the 19 names. We are inside of this new consciousness. But what the new consciousness does is that allows to understand completely the sequential linear process inside of the whole. So it's not that now that we are inside of the whole, the sequential linear process disappears. for the first time, the sequential linear process becomes totally real and totally understood as being this history of our natural progression, from which we learned all the frames of references that allow us to live as live now in the presence of unity, in the presence of wholeness within wholeness, which is the wholeness of life. So this is important to contemplate a little bit, because within the old mind is that, okay, now I'm going to throw this away. I don't need that away, blah, blah, blah. No, wholeness means that nothing is discarded. Everything exists inside of a system. But the reason that nothing is discarded, because it gets acknowledged as being the very thing that allows you to understand everything. And you can live simultaneously with the linear process and the simultaneous process that we call quantum entanglement, and in the present moment. So the three things: the whole past, which is the linear process; the whole future, which is the quantum entanglement that we don't know yet because we are inside of the universal existence, but also manifested in the present moment, which is yourself, the self of each of us, for the first time living inside of the fantastic system that is traveling with existence, recreating itself anew. There is manifesting the whole world for everyone in the entire planet to a new reality of unity, that by the very nature of increasingly becoming more and more present, it opens the doors of the heavens to experience the intelligence that before we couldn't have fully access for, because our mind was always self-contained inside of the small system that recreated itself inside of the same problems. So we are inside of a completely new system that is fantastic. So this is a wonderful thing to contemplate, because once your mind sees that, it'll help you. You go back to sleep at night, you go to sleep, when you get up in the morning, you're going to feel great, because the mind, what it does, it arranges everything to go back to the new place. You know, and the computer, the person who works in the computer, I said, it's a good idea for you to really actually shut down the computer when you go to bed. Don't keep it all the time. I said, oh, I thought that it would be. No, just keep it. And what it does is that it brings everything to its original sort of a formation. So when you go back, everything is like the house is clean, everything is perfect. So the same is the function of a sleeping. You go to sleep, everything that it was totally, it arranges itself, and then you're new in the morning. Yeah, most of the time, hopefully. But then the difference is that now when we go to sleep, when we get up in the morning, we are inside of the new consciousness. We are not inside of the Groundhog Day, starting the day again with the same story, going through the same things and so forth. We are inside of the new system. Yeah, fantastic. It's lovely. Am I talking too much? I guess maybe I am, but I don't know. It's too late. I'm going for it. All right, so this is the last one of it. And this is now, Carolina and I added I think it was already last week, the ninth dimension. Yeah, I don't know, I don't remember now. I mean, so many changes. The ninth dimension is the one of the three dimensions that exist in the completion of the 10 dimensions. Yeah, the whole thing that we have done before until now was whole nature. Yeah, and whole nature was fantastic. Yeah, because it was the actual existence of the very nature that is our being. Yeah, remember that I said to you, the reason that we have the four mothers is because that encompasses not only the nature that call our mother, our divine mother, and the mother that we all have as children, then the mother that is the planet Earth, which is the garden from which all live and exist, and sometimes we are not conscious of the perfection of the mother, and then the universal mother, which is the essence that we call universe, which is the extraordinary intelligence that we call God, and the intelligence that is not 10%, but is 100% of its own perfection of intelligence. And then the mother of all forms, which is the particular speck of form from which we have evolved into creation. Yes. If you're thinking about that, the gravity expansion in the present moment of life was always the rule of creation. Just think about coming from the amoeba and having the first reflector of life. If we're going into that Newtonian sort of or Darwinian process, and then all the time that it has to go for something to grow from nothing to begin to become a fish, and to be able to become, get out of the water and be able to walk, and be able to go into the animal's form, and then be able to go develop into the human form, in which the brain expanded into another form and take us to different levels of manifestation until the moment they united into creation again, and then we are back into the whole nature. So the whole nature is nothing other than the natural state of being with our sense of self. That's what it means, our natural state of being, yeah? Because if remember that in the evolutionary consciousness or in the linear consciousness, we can spend thousands and thousands of hours discussing what is our natural state. You know what I mean? People say, no, the natural state could be like animals going back in there and blah, blah, blah. You know, so all these stories of discussion. And we know that our natural state, it is an expression of living the nature that we are, like the American Indians understood the nature of nature, you know, live in nature, the part of ourselves that always was connected to the mother, but also the nature of ourselves corresponded an understanding of love, which it was all encompassing. It was not just only the experience of love, it was the understanding of love. The understanding of love is extraordinary because once you start understanding love, you're understanding your mind. Yeah, because feeling begins to be understood as a concept of the mind as well. And then the mind expands from the feeling, which is love, and it becomes the intelligence that always existed and always will be, which is our natural state. So in the natural state, each of us is a brilliant, intelligent being, not divided into more or less of what I have, what I don't remember, I go to school, I take the text. No, the whole thing is intelligence. The whole feeling is love. The whole physical reality is centralized now in the moment of universal existence in which all humans live, manifest in the new world. It's fantastic. So anyway, this is important for you to really be in the reading of it. It's lovely. These are 3 things that I told you that if you're going to spend time next Thursday, when we get together next Wednesday, the moment, the free actualizations of the moment, they are very wonderful because it assists us to understand the divine fullness and the depth that exists within the moment itself. There is nothing more beautiful than the moment itself as we land in it, because in the evolutionary consciousness, the moment it was like, oh, we're always late. We're coming, now I need to rest, get up. I get up in the moment. I'm almost for a while in the moment, but then I have to out. So the moment became the natural existence of our human life. That was fantastic. Landing in the moment is all there is. Remember that all the gurus that said that they have a particular experience of spirituality, and whatever they will call it in that time, Sachidananda or whatever name they give it, and the moment they experience that is because they touched the moment for whatever time it was, an hour, a day, whatever, it touched the moment. And then you return to the physical world, and then the moment becomes disappearing because, you know, we are all so fast, so coming and going, blah, blah, blah. But the new consciousness actualizes the moment. Sachidananda, the illumination, the new consciousness, everything in the moment itself. So every single human being is enlightenment. Everyone. Yeah, it's not subject to the particular human, what it would be, particular human actualization. No, the particular human earning it through the fruit of oneself. You can't get to the new consciousness through the process of learning it in the sense of conflict or in the sense of work or in the first of becoming. The new consciousness is ever present. So all the labor in relation to be with it has been taken away. So the field is open. And if someone doesn't understand the field, You can just say, well, the field isn't here. You can guide them a little bit, whatever, but it doesn't matter because they are already experiencing by the greater presence of the field. But if somebody asks, you can begin to say, okay, the new consciousness is a new form of thought, feeling, and action that we humans are coming to correspondence now, in which it was promised to us from the beginning of time and now have come into existence. And all the things that they were projected as a futuristic attainment became present in the moment of life. And your life will become blessed and divine inside of the system, the consciousness, because you are simultaneous with creation, which means that everything you want, everything you need is always in the presence of you and is ready to be given to you, because in the reality itself, everything was been given. The kingdom of heaven is not really at hand. It is actually at the center of your human heart, ready to go forever. Yeah. So it's fantastic. Yeah, fantastic. You can share it if you feel like it. And then, So anyway, now we are here. We know, understand. We know here the beautiful lighting proportions. We're getting into the divine nature of the dream catcher. Yeah. Remember that Ellen sent us last week about all these beautiful videos that she got in contact with it about the American Indians. And she said that the American Indians knew all the things that we're talking about. They understood quantum entanglement, they understood the 6 directions of space, they understood the moment, because for the American Indians, the moment they didn't have any past or future. So always live in the moment. Yeah. So they didn't have like us, that the moment got occupied with the things that we have experienced and the things that we were projected. They were always different. So now we are, the dream catcher became actually the natural moment of life inside of the movement of life. So that's the reason that the dream catcher becomes the particular mandala inside of the Fibonacci spiral, which is the movement of life. Yeah, right here we change the order in order for have the Fibonacci spiral, to have the movement, to have the 19 centers inside of the movement that correspond exactly to the 19 centers existing within the flower. The reason is because the form, which is the mother form, the movement, which is the movement of life, and the space became one as 3 dimensions, expressing the natural reflection of life upon the movement of life, the reflection of light upon the movement of light. This is the titillation, the titillating form of every single moment of our human lives. Inside, we live inside this titillating form that eventually becomes understood as the fountain of life. And I say titillating because it is, remember that what we call a light, when we have an electrical bulb, we think that we see the light constantly, emanating everything. But if you really get closer to it, you understand that the light is really a vibration. Yeah, it's not just something that is like a fried egg showing light. It's a vibratory expression of a titillating form. So that's what life is, a titillating vibration of light upon us every moment, blessing us with the electrical current that we call life. The electrical current is the natural impulse of the universe moving into infinity. Yeah, we are all plugged in constantly. we don't know it. It's kind of funny because we don't know that we are plugged in. So, but once we begin to understand that we are plugged in, we can use it, because if you are plugged in, might as well reflect light and enjoy everything. Yeah, fantastic. So anyway, the fountain of life, the light itself became the geometry of balance. So this is the geometry of balance. This is the study of unity and motion. I don't know if I call it a study now, but let me see. This is the practice of unity and motion. We use the given, the geometry of balance, to assist us to unify all directions of energy within ourselves, so we can get to experience the wholeness within wholeness, that is the natural reality, that is the fountain of life. So I said it again. the geometry of balance, the geometry of life, assists us when we practice to unify all senses within ourselves. So we get to experience the unity that exists in each of us, that then flourish into the actual experience of the fountain. And as we get to the fountain, we are inside of creation. We are inside of eternity. We are inside of life. We are inside of infinite regeneration, which is the ninth connection. And we are connected to foundation paradise. So it is divine. It's absolutely divine. So then this is something that we added to it. I don't know if you had it yet, if you read it, but and then we go to the fountain of life. Yeah, the fountain of life. Actually, okay, the fountain of life is the last of the dimension, foundation paradise. Yeah, but let me go back a little bit. I needed to tell you something about it. Am I giving you too much information? You will have time to ask questions. We can go back to this again, because what I'm saying is I'm becoming conscious. I've been talking about like this for years and years and years and years myself. But now I understand more that it's almost like I'm talking from another language, from another frame of reference. So I understand that I've been heard, I understood, I'm being understood, but I don't know if I am completely understood inside of the actual perfection of its own existence of what I'm saying. So I may have to say it again. You may have to hear it and find out what is that you're understanding. And if you don't understand something, I know that you will tell me. I said, Christian, I believe you, but I don't know about this. You know, that would be okay. I don't expect you to really think that you have to please me by thinking that you have to understand what I'm saying. The more that you will please me, if you tell me, oh, Christian, you know, I've been hearing you for years and I don't understand what word are you saying. And I said, oh, fantastic, that's great. We can start somewhere now. We can finally start to talk to each other, because otherwise, until now, you just heard me, yeah? So I am only as good in being here and connecting to you as a teacher, since I presented myself as such, to be able to facilitate understanding. So I don't have nothing else to do that assist you in whatever way, whatever you are, whatever you need, to assist you to understand the whole system until the point that you become your own teacher. Because once you start connecting to the consciousness itself, inside of your own consciousness, understanding, feeling, and experience, the teacher becomes life itself. You're perfect. You know, you don't have to learn anything. Actually, it comes with the territory, the learning. You don't, the learning is simultaneous with your experience. It's not linear. It's not your experience, then you're learning, or your experience. No, it's all together. It's beautiful. Okay, so this is so now, I don't know if you know, and I want to tell you that this is the geometry, and it's called a self-regenerative system of consciousness that gives and receives itself as one. Because it goes out into itself and come back into itself forever. Every single point, apart from the flower, because the flower, the form, is actually the natural manifestation of physical existence. It's always there. The natural manifestation of physical existence comes with the territory by the very existence of gravity, the system in which we live in as humans, and the planet Earth, and in the solar system. The function of gravity is that it makes real the actual moment, like a clock, like click, 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 click. Every single moment, gravity makes the physical body to be real. And what it means is the instant in which everything becomes manifested as what it is, in order to become what it's becoming. Yes, everything has manifestation. We're manifesting ourselves every single by the nature of gravity. So anyway, the reason that I put the fountain here, that I'm going to show you on the next graphic, is because I recognize it, and all this, it is beautiful, but I don't know if it can be experienced from down, it can be experienced from up. It can be, if you experience or up, you will see the same thing that you see from the front. Because you will see from the top the center and you will experience the whole sphere. If you see it from the bottom, upside looking up, you will see the same thing. You will see it from the center going in the whole sphere. From any direction that you will see it, and that's the reason it's 3 dimensions, it will always look inside of the whole. Yeah, and this is, you have to contemplate it a little bit, because it's difficult to try to give you a 2-dimensional image, but I tell you that if you look at from here, from the top, and you will place yourself on top right here, and you will put yourself to look at it, your eyes will be right here. What you will see is what you see it from the front. Yeah. And when you see it from the bottom, if you put yourself under and you go looking up, you will see it the same thing. So the foundation and the crown are the same. Yeah, there is a question about that. I think I'm hearing a voice.
It's just an observation. So
Absolutely.
I always sense I'm at this center as the top of my head.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know if that's, what you're talking about at all, but
yes.
But that, because you are this form, correct?
Yes, yeah. It's a good question about it. Do you know what Ellen is asking? The question is a very important question. Does she sense it always from the top of the head? But what I'm saying, that if you sense it from the top of the head, which we're going to talk about now, you can say this is the top of the head, or this is the top of the head, or this is the top of the head. Inside of the principle I'm talking about, not in our human, inside of the principle. Every point in itself is the whole sphere, the whole geometry. Now, the reason that you sense it from the top of the head, let's say that this was, instead of the symbol that you have right now, Elena, let's say that instead of being seen from the front, it is seen from the top. So you're here in the top of the head.
That's
right?
what I'm saying, yeah.
And the reason that you're experiencing, we experience from the top of the head, and that's the reason we call it crown, because it is actually the natural moment of life that is being manifested inside of the light itself. The natural moment of life becoming manifested inside of light itself.
And that could also be the solar plexus, or that could be any of the centers, right?
Yes, it will be any of the 7 centers. If you see it from the front, will be the solar. It always will be the solar plexus, but the natural communion with the actual moment itself, as it is universal, it's not just only human now, it's actually the fountain. And what the fountain represents, let me take you back. What the fountain represents is that the fountain, take you down, the fountain right here, you see, that's the Trinity, the first. This is the beginning of the fountain right here. That's the reason we call it crown. Yeah, remember that originally before crown, somebody asking questions. I'm sorry. Are you okay? There's any questions? Okay. Remember that originally before we call it crown, we used to call it light. Yeah, because it's the light of the world. That's here is the light. But the reason that we call it crown, because crown is the synergy of the whole consciousness manifesting itself anew every moment of life. So we are inside of the kingdom. That's what the kingdom of love means, the universal kingdom. That's what the kingdom of heaven and earth means. The instant of creation in which we are one with God and one with everything, in one with the whole universe. And by meaning one, it means we are simultaneous with creation itself. Not that we are one with, we are one because we are simultaneous with creation itself. So the crown is a divine thing. So the crown means the moment of universal existence, of the moment of earthly existence, in which the whole of humanity is manifesting as one, the kingdom, the natural fulfillment of all humanity, the natural fulfillment of all nations, the natural fulfillment of all intelligence, the natural fulfillment of all love, the natural fulfillment of all form. Can you see how extraordinary the new consciousness is? Because it encompasses all the teachings of times, and it brings into the present moment as the fulfillment of all teachings, which is the experience of that reality empowering every single human being to be an instrument of that creation instead of being an observer. The human being, each of us, is the instrument of creation itself. And it sounds linear the way I say it because it's synchronized with life, but it's not linear. It's that. So can you see how beautiful it is? The entire reality, that whatever we wanted, that the world was one, well, the world is one, and it will flourish into oneness. All nationalities will become one as each being understand that naturally, not through the teachings of the time or the progress or the spiritual or the meditation, no, through the connection to reality itself, that the oneness of each individual is actually their natural connection to their nature and the natural manifestation of the physical reality in the planet Earth as it corresponds to the universal reality, which is the existence of God. God being the 100% intelligence that we call the universe. Yeah, not just the man with a beard waiting to see how you're doing, but the real thing, the intelligence that is self-contained in the natural instant that is the breath of our lives, the original imprint of life itself, blooming into this beautiful manifestation that we call physical reality. Exquisite, unbelievable. The vision are unbelievable, and you're having it already, but you're going to have it. And every time you have it, I said, oh, wow, because your mind will show you the divine nature of the mind itself when it's not divided inside of its own formation, when it's united to itself. It's beautiful. So anyway, so then, Elena, I answered the question that what the crown is, it's natural that you feel it as the crown, because it's the natural instant of renewal of the whole of universal life.
Thank
Yeah?
you. Thank
But
you.
but it's simultaneous with everything. Yeah. So it's not that it's in delay with everything else, but that's what it is. It's a given. Every single moment. Remember that in the past, the spiritual teachings was showing the lotus. Yeah, the lotus meant that the flower keeps opening every moment. Opening and opening and opening. So that's what it is. The lotus, the flower, is every single moment of life is an opening into an endless transformation that it always existed inside of eternal life. Life is the only thing, no, I wouldn't say the only thing. Life is the reality that is eternal because it is always existent and it will always be, will be. Yeah. Remember that our dear uncle, Buckminster Fuller, said, you cannot kill life. Created a lot of stuff about it because, the mind will, but you can never kill life because life is life is life is life. It's eternal, impossible. Yeah, it's the eternal nature of ourself, what we call the soul of the human existence. It is the self, is what each of us. And as we understand and experience and enjoy it in the ecstasy of life itself, you see, oh, I see, I am eternal, not because I'm not going to die. It's just that's the nature of my existence. Life can never die. So you get to enjoy it and never have to worry about anything because you would always be alive forever. Once you realize it, and even if you don't, you would always be alive because life is life is life is life. It's fantastic. So anyway, where are we now? Oh, we were returning into, I think I'm doing great because I still have 20 minutes. Should I give you a break for a little second? Let me just take a second here. I'm going to stop share. So I'm going to come to check you out to see how you're doing. Are you having some chocolate? No candies, nothing. Fantastic. Well, how you doing? Are you okay? Are you ready to go and strangle me? I said too many things. No?
That's
Are you
great.
good?
Thank you.
Okay, all right.
We're excited.
So let's have a little bit of
getting
break.
the download. We're getting.
Are we getting to download? I'm very happy because I'm getting to download everything. So now we can be with everything. And then the beauty about the new consciousness is that every single aspect of the new consciousness self-contained within itself, the whole thing. So when I get into here, this beautiful thing, for example, it self-contained all the seas that exist in the entire planet, the water, the entire history, the amphibious nature of the entire existence. Somebody lived here and created this house to let me show me that this is the divine proportions of actually Mario Pisano, that created the golden mean. Can you imagine how beautiful the spiral of itself coming into itself? So everything carries within itself the story of its own making. And it always returns to you, because you are the only one, or maybe the individual one, who can bring it into context. I don't know if the fish understood completely that he was creating the golden mean, but I do. So I could love every single fish that existed in the sea. I said, oh, thank you so much, because you created in your form the natural progression in which life grows as a mathematical equation of its own nature. Beautiful. So anyway, it's everything. It's fantastic. It's really fantastic. Janet, I love you. How lovely. There you are. How lovely. Wonderful. So anyway, we're taking a few seconds of break. So let me see for a moment. Water, do you need water? Hot chocolate? No, not hot chocolate. It's too early. But anyway, are you okay with me so far? Yeah, it's a lot what I'm saying. When I hear myself and I watch my videos, I said, oh my God, Cristian, you're just going on and on and on. And whatever you say, it is what it is, but nevertheless, so I get surprised to what I said. It's not because I don't know it. It's just that now naturally I'm saying it like it is nothing, and it is, because it is all, it's the all. But it's kind of fun, So anyway, one more second and they will continue. Let me see, what is that I was telling you right now? They were completing before I take you from there, the fountain of life. The fountain of life is a divine thing, amazing. But what I was telling you is that the geometry of balance is a system of consciousness that came into existence within the new consciousness 30 years ago, in one instant of time. And it became the system of consciousness that gives and receives itself as love. So it is a self-regenerated system. What I mean by self-regenerated system, that is inside of a system that, like a clock, when they used to have the clock, they didn't have the batteries, that it was just manifested itself by its own mechanisms. Yeah, so then it constantly wind itself by its own formation. So the same is that the system is going on forever. It is the natural system of 3 dimensions, giving and receiving itself as love. And the reason we say love, we can say giving and receive itself as light. We can say giving and receiving itself as crown, giving and receiving itself as balance, giving itself as beauty. We can use any of the 10 dimensions. But the reason that we say love, because there was a mystery in the beginning of time in the human consciousness. What was before who created who created the Big Bang? Said, well, not okay. The Big Bang, somebody had to light a fire. I mean, it can come. So somebody has to really do something to do the Big Bang, right? So then it was a mystery, still a mystery. We don't know. They're trying to figure it out. But what that was called in the esoteric perception of our human unfolding it was called the primal mobile. The primal mobile. Is the right word that I'm using? I don't know. The primal impulse, the primal movement of existence. The waters, when in Genesis they call that the spirit manifests from all directions, going to the edge and start manifesting the flower of life. So that will be the primal impulse. So the primal impulse of God, which is the original manifestation of all things, is love, and always has been, and it always will be. Now, we can call it something else. We can call it universal power. We can call it the continual existence of atomic, and I don't know what word is, but we can call it many, many, many things. But the difference in calling love is because love, since we were created in the image and the likeness, love is the only, I can't use the word only. Love is the feeling, the intelligence, and the physical presence that can manifest equality for everyone, empowerment for everyone, attention for everyone. It can manifest the natural, blessed existence that is our present as the image and the likeness. So it is extraordinary. So it was complex to use the word love, because remember that in our evolutionary form, love sometimes got explained in, oh, you know, the little bird is something happened, injury, and I love it, and or you know, I love you, I caress you. That's true. I love you, my lover. I love you. Yeah, that's another. But love is much larger than that. I couldn't say the word love. Love encompasses much larger feelings and expression than just what we call the love of another person. It included the natural intelligence of the mind that is not divided inside of its own formation. It's whole. That's the reason it's called the mind of God. And then love is centralized in the physical existence, because it can only exist in the physical moment. It's not a concept. You can tell somebody, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you forever. But if you are not with them and really connect with them, it's all a word. It doesn't make any sense. You know, ultimately, love is attention. Whatever you give something attention, you give them love. Whenever you're cooking something, if you don't give attention, it will burn out. No love. I mean, you had to eat it, but it wasn't as good. If you have a lover, you're not with the person and you say, I love you whenever I need you, blah, 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 blah. Very soon you're going to be divorced. No love, no attention. Yes, you can tell to one of your children, I love you, I love you, I love you. But if you don't listen to where they are and listen and give them your attention, because they can express themselves and they need you to connect as reality and life, then it doesn't mean anything. It's just a word and, you know, blah, 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 blah. But love is the only thing that encompasses, or I said it again, love is the only thing that encompasses all things. I would not like to say only, because when I said only, I made a relative. When I said only, I make a relative. You know what I mean? God is the thing that encompasses all things. I got to be careful what I'm saying. You understand when I say only? Because then the mind, oh, what do I mean only? What about blah, blah, blah? No, you can't use certain words because they are trigger reflexes within our consciousness inside of the linear process. And then you enter the endless discussion of the meaning of love. In the moment that you enter the endless discussion of the meaning of love, you are out of love. Because love, you cannot discuss it. You can only know it, you can only be it, but you can only, excuse me, no, you take a word only. God is not about discussing it or being, you have to take the word only. Yes, you can see what happened with the mind, no? The consciousness. We're getting ready of something that isolates something innocently without understanding that it's part of the whole. So when I use only, I contract it. And in reality, love is, that's the reason we say love is all there is. And all there is love. Yeah, beautiful. So are we good with this? Love, I went into another Beatrice of love, wanted to give you a break, but it doesn't matter, here we go. So let me continue with it for a little bit now. So now we're gonna go into share a screen. It was lovely to see you though. And now I say now share. I'd like to look at you. It's difficult to zoom because when I'm looking and show you what I'm showing you, I don't see you from the side. So I miss you a little bit, but it's okay. It's good. I love you, you know? It's wonderful. I'm talking to myself too, because when each other, we all talking to each other in the same language now. So anyway, let me see, where am I now? I'm going, I don't need to go down. I need to click. So the fountain of life, let's go back to the fountain of life. This is a big deal, the fountain of life. It's the same that the geometry of balance, but we put the fountain, we hold the Eucharist. And the reason that I decided to put the Eucharist is because then we can, when we see it, even though we see it from the front, and then we put it in one dimension, if you may, by seeing it, but if we can understand that is that which always keep giving, always keep giving. It's the beautiful reality of life, and the beautiful reality of love, and the beautiful reality of crown. Always keep giving. It's like a manna from heaven. Always, that's where the self-created system, giving and receiving itself as love. It always keeps giving. And the cup is full because it's the whole manifestation of its whole existence. It's not just for certain people. It's not just a little bit of energy. It's not just celestial energy. It's the whole field of energy, giving and receive itself as one. Yeah. So in the fountain, if we were to put it, that's the reason this is like the physical world in which we live, you know, sort of in the planet or it's the solar system, but this will be the universe, so to speak. But this is where we are now, the foundation, the way that we get to be in the fountain of life, because the physical reality is the foundation from which we can experience light. Without form, you cannot see light because there is nothing to reflect, and therefore you don't see anything. So the physical formation was the natural reflection of light, and it's the natural existence of all things. And in relation to human, the physical formation, my body, is the natural system of consciousness that allow me to understand the meaning of being the light of the world, returning to the source of my life, which is light. Yeah, light being intelligence, light being the lightness of being, that is my sense of self, light being the natural communion with the whole universal existence in which everything moves as one. Yeah, remember that the planet Earth is zero weight in the heavens. It has no weight. Yeah, it's rotating in its axis, extraordinary speed. It doesn't have any weight. So we are weightless inside of life. Life is the absence of weight because the weight is already actualized by gravity constantly, so we don't have to feel it. It comes with the territory. But life then uses that as a means of manifesting creation. And then inside of the two, the moment itself becomes the actual fulfillment of 3 dimensions in the actual manifestation of all physical form. So in reality, here we are, the fountain of life. Yeah, and then, okay, I name it the Eucharist because I wanted to celebrate, you know, I was actually, I was said I was trained as a Christian. That's kind of funny because I was in some degree. I was trained as a Christian because my aunt in my family and my mother and everybody were Christians. So I love them, you know, I love it because it was part of the way you grow as a child. But also I told you that I had a lot of complexities when I went to church because I could never understand all that. It was a little bit like sort of like a pageant that it had meaning because people gave it the meaning, but it was surreal in relation to the actual physical life that I was living as a child when my family being poor and so forth. It was totally disconnected with everything. So I said, oh my God, you know, but anyway, it doesn't matter. It was beautiful. It was a reflection. But, you know, the Eucharist was acknowledged through the entire history of Christianity as being the bread of life and the wine of life from which you remember, I guess, Christ in that sense. But what I recognized that it was in that time, it was really actually the fountain of life, because it wasn't relative to Christ being the one that gives his life in order to save us from the sin of the original sin in relation to blah, 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 blah. I understood that all that was a beautiful story, but the beautiful story created a lot of nightmares because most of the people innocently thought that it will never be worthy enough to be able to be in the kingdom of heaven, maybe someday, out of the grace of life. So the coming of the new consciousness was actually the second coming, in the sense that took that story and brought it into the moment as the fulfillment of the Christ, if you want to put it that way, and then in which the Eucharist became actually the vessel of life itself, forever coming into existence, forever enlightening, forever renewing, forever celebrating the kingdom of heaven and earth, the kingdom of heaven. Yeah, which we are. This is the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven is not a place. It's actually the mind of ourselves existing inside of unity. That's the kingdom of heaven. So anyway, that's the story of the Eucharist. And let me see what I'll tell you. Okay, so the most important thing about the fountain of life, that every single point that you create as form, that we have a form, is the entire fountain. So it is important to understand that this is not the lower part of the fountain, this is the higher part, even though we acknowledge the creation comes from here, that all the levels are understandings of the diversity of wholeness existence and oneness, the diversity of wholeness, existence and oneness. But they are not subject to more or less. So every single point within the fountain as form, it is actually the entire fountain, recreating itself as the entire fountain. Yeah. So I don't know, this is something that needs contemplation, because the mind, linear mind, want to say, okay, but what that blah, 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 blah. But then I said, oh, I see, every point of itself, which means quantum entanglement. That's the reason that I said to you that perhaps the last instant of creation from which we merge with the new consciousness, what the discovery of quantum entanglement, that it says that quantum entanglement did not exist inside linear, local, in terms of time, local, and space. It was a simultaneous existence in which everything was simultaneous with itself. And if you move something, it shows up immediately in everything else, because it's inside of a system of unity. So remember that we said in the story of our humanity, the science will be the thing that will unite religion and spirituality into the reality of life. Yeah, because it was very difficult through time, because religion and spirituality became so enormous inside of its own formation that innocently became crystallized inside of its form. So in order to preserve it, it keep manifesting and manifesting, and the elderly take us to endless process of celebrations, which are beautiful, and candles and lights and chants, but they forgot that the whole thing was for the moment. It never was to be able to maintain it inside of that stratosphere. So the kingdom, the renewal of the second coming, if you bring, it's actually the renewal of everything, the renewal of Buddha, the renewal of Islam. Just thinking about Islam, for example. The Islamic people is going through all this extraordinary process right now, because they want to keep everything inside of what they was in the 16th century. And it's impossible, because all that were stories inside of the innocent battle between the giving and not giving. So all that world is sort of crazy inside. So it's going through an extraordinary transformation now, because the whole world is awakening to the reality of the present moment, in which every single human being is free. The unalienable rights of every single human being is life, liberty, and the experience of happiness. Yeah, that was what we said. Actually, I changed the word experience, because in this, the word said the pursuit of happiness. It is impossible to pursue happiness. Happiness is the existence of life. Being alive means that you're happy. That's the children. When the children are born, they're all happy. You know, they are already coming into, oh my God, what can I do? What can I say? Blah, 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 blah. Every moment is happiness, because that's what they call life. Yeah. So anyway, this is the fountain of life. This is beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. So if you allow me, I'm going to go for 5 minutes more, a little bit. So, okay. So the fountain, the completion of the fountain is foundation paradise, the foundation. This is the foundation of our set. And the reason it's called the foundation, because in the moment that we reunited with the fountain and we reunited with everything, the actual foundation of all things became paradise, which is the center of the universe. So the center of the universe, foundation is, the paradise is not here, it's actually here. It's the center in which the universe exists. So this is the center of the universe, this is the center of the planet Earth, this is the center of the sun, this is the center of the solar system, this is the center of me as human. So we share in the same center. That's what synchronicity means, that I am in this sharing the same instant of electrical manifestation of light that is allowed to breathe and experience the natural impulse within my nervous system, from which I am life. I am life. You cannot experience life. You are life. Yeah. So anyway, this is it was in my sense, since I was a child grown in the Christian tradition. I wanted to honor the master in that sense. You know, Christ is the master, but I wanted to take it away from all that horrible story, because the master maybe in that time had to do that in order to awaken people from the can you imagine how complex it was 2,000 years ago? But now the second coming, it could not be a person, impossible, because it is every single human being. If it were to be a person, it's like, oh my God, the whole thing is start all over again. You know, you have to go to Oprah and talk about the second coming and what it is, and thousands of discussions and what it is, and blah, blah. Can you imagine? Ultimate nightmare. Ultimate. So that's the reason that the second coming is actually the energetic field of the kingdom of heaven. It could never be the person talking about the kingdom of heaven. Yeah, because it's synchronized. It's not linear. It's not based in the process of communication only. So anyway, and so then synchronicity means that we are centralized naturally for us, that the center of gravity is constantly connecting us to the center of the planet. And the center of the planet is the same as the center of expansion from which we are ground here. This is the metrics. That's what the whole thing about the tree of life was about. That we will discover the totality of the sensation, intelligence, and physical experience of our being. They correspond to our place in a universal existence. There was the creation of God, the particular manifestation of God itself. So that's what it is. The image and the likeness becomes reconnected to the garden. And this, the garden became the center of the planet, but also became everything. The entire universe is the garden. My body is the garden. Everything, every single being is the garden, okay? So then this image, I think you know it, because this is what it is. That in the linear process, we made everything flat, but we are existing inside of a sphere. This is a sphere of Earth. So every single being that is connecting to the planet, simultaneous, is connected to ground, even though we don't know it yet. But very soon, all the beings will say, oh, you know, I am the crown. I'm the one. I'm the manifestation of all things. I am the star of everything, not as an aggrandizing form, but as a natural not as a natural acknowledge of the natural state. It means that you, as the individual expression, and me as the individual expression, are manifest in the new world, in the new paradigm, in the world in which everyone is the creator, the perfection, and the beauty of all things. Every single being. No longer, oh, you know, we give this to this and this to that and blah, blah, blah. No, every single human being is actually the natural creation of the world itself. So that means empowerment. Yeah. When you give to every single human being the understanding that they are the creator of life itself, they are the natural manifestation of life itself, that you are manifesting yourself at the same time that you're manifesting the new world. You give them the keys of the kingdom, because every single being has their own function in that. Every day we all get to know what that is. For some of us will be attending the garden, putting flowers in place, having a family, creating a new device for the health for every single being, created another system of everything, because everything has to be recreated inside of the new system. Everybody will have their own function. If you may, the word function is not, everybody will have their own intelligent expression inside of the natural manifestation of the new consciousness, because that's what we do naturally, you know what I mean? But we can begin to understand. A child can tell you, oh, I'm going to be a mechanic, or I'm going to be a doctor, or I'm going to be a president of the United States. Whatever they're going to tell you, but whatever it is, it's going to be their fulfillment. Yeah. So fantastic. So anyway, so then what I wanted to tell you that the centralization of being inside of the sphere of life, which is the planet, yeah, in the planet right here. So every single human being is manifesting self-equilibrium. We are manifesting a self-equilibrium by the very existence of our life. But sometimes self-equilibrium has a lot of complexity, because if we don't understand that the gravity was a field that expands us, we may think the gravity is a field that compresses us. And if we do that, we're a little bit in trouble, because then we experience pain and compression and stress and blah, 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 which are manifestations of our own consciousness without not knowing. So anyway, here we are. This is unity in motion. We are inside of the universe. So it's a lot to say, because remember that it never meant very much an evolution being inside of the universe. We didn't know what that was. We thought we had words like universal consciousness and things like that, but we never understood that it was nothing other than being connected with everything within the natural moment of life. Yeah. So then take us into the fountain. The fountain, I better stop right now here, because that the fountain is actually the entire consciousness, the entire field of consciousness. So the tree of life, that's the reason we call the tree of life, is the consciousness that understands itself to be the light itself. And then the consciousness is actually the three senses of the self. And what I wanted to do today, which I will do the next time, is to take you to understand these are the three senses of the self. This is the horizon, the first horizon, the tree of life. This is the second cross within the tree of life, centralizing in the heart. This is the third cross of the tree of life, centralizing in the pelvic floor. And it represents the entire centralization of the tree inside of the three-dimensional form of the fountain. And it has the unification of the three senses of the self: the conceptual or consciousness, feeling, which is energy, and form, which is the physical formation. And this is the first time that the physical formation is manifesting with everything. Because physical formation, remember in the past, was considered to be a no-no, not good, because it was considered to be temporal. So anyway, that, and this, that we are the fountain of life. And what I'm going to do for the next time together, what I would like to do, apart to complete the 10 dimension, I would like to take you through the geometry of balance inside of the fountain. We know now that the flower of life is ever present because it's the form itself. And I am the form itself, right? My physical body is the form itself. Then we know there is movement, which is the whole motion of all things reconnected into the totality of the momentum of life, love. And then we know there is a space, a space, infinite space. But now, every single movement, connection, and path of balance, it existed inside of the fountain. And I would like to take you inside of the fountain and tell you where the connections are, where the path of balance is, so you can begin to really have a picture in your mind that when you practice, you are interconnecting with the fountain. And the wonderful things about interconnecting with the fountain is that if you touch it in a space, it does two things. It returns into you at the same time that it's taking you into the surface of creation. That's the reason it regenerates itself, because it comes into itself, which is the center of all things, and regenerates itself through the actual form, touching in a space. And of course, the returning to itself, touching the outer form, which is the recreation of itself, gets actualized within the natural moment. So the practice of unity in motion is going to get you to the moment. If you don't know yet what that is, it's going to take you to the moment, because you're going to start sensing the outer and the inner, the connection of the seven centers, the sensation of yourself, all the senses of your being becoming together. And then little by little, if you don't know yet, or you need to really understand it, because the wonderful thing about understanding, which is what we call the knowledge of eternal time, that when you understand something, it is perpetual forever. You will never need to get up. It will be part of your consciousness forever. And your consciousness will be always present because you understand it, not because you only experience it or because you only feel it. It's the three things simultaneous. That's what the new consciousness said. It's the mental aspects of understanding wholeness, the emotional aspects of experiencing love and feeling, and the physical aspect of being interconnected with the entire field that we call universal balance. So there are three things. And some of us may be gravitating much into the motion. Oh, I love it. It's beautiful. It makes me feel good. It's lovely. Oh, wonderful. Yeah, I think it's perfect. Some of us will think, okay, I love the energy because I feel the energy and then I feel better. Okay, oh, wonderful. But then when you understand it, you can get to it instantaneously because the mind is actually the fountain itself. So the practice, maybe you may not need to practice anymore because you will be all the time in it. But if something happens that for some reason you needed pain arise or something happened, the moment that you connect everything will disappear. There is uncomfortable or stress, because in the whole system, you cannot have stress, you cannot have pain, you cannot have any, only regeneration. It's infinite regeneration. Yeah, beautiful. So anyway, that's what I'm going to do the next time. And we're going to complete it because Carolina's computer will be perfectly arranged. We're going to send it to you. Everything is fantastic. You are doing absolutely great. I admire you because you have to hear me for an hour and a half saying and all those things. And I have the feeling that you are understanding most of the things that I'm saying now. And that gives me a lot of love and experience, because that means that we will be able to really relax into our natural communion when we have questions, whatever questions arise, and get to fulfill any place in the mind or in the heart or in the physical reality that for one particular reason is not yet fulfilled. Yeah. So anyway, let me get out of here to say goodbye to you. Stop share. I love you. It's all divine. And now here we are. We are together. You didn't go to sleep or anything. That was fantastic. No, I like to kid you. One of the things that happens to me right now is that also, and I have to be very careful because I want to laugh all the time, you know, and it's not good because it seems like I'm making fun of something. It's just that everything is a little bit like sort of a light and sunsets. But anyway, I love it. I enjoy it. But you understand it. Not that I am the mad professor, because I'm not. I'm also sad. But I understand how in the past we became the mad professors, because there is a moment that you can just, you know, sort of living in the world of fun, become a perpetual comedian. So anyway, are you good? Are you fantastic? And
We're good, Christy. Thank you.
all right, fantastic. Thank you for
We love
everything.
it.
I love you, and I'll get to see you next Wednesday. If you have questions, remember you can take notes.
Anita.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Ciao. Ciao,
Bye,
ciao.
everybody.
I love it.
Thank
I love it.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
You're absolutely
Bye.